All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the official Trade Talk channel, where I show you how I analyze price for the most consistent and higher probable entries to help you become a better trader. So it's time for the morning analysis, and I gotta say, there's not a whole lot going on. I've went through almost every single FX pair out there, and I do not see a setup that I love. Bitcoin's basically about doing the same thing. It's trading sideways. The other night I said that I was expecting Bitcoin to be bullish because we had a nice little short squeeze. Excuse me, nice little short squeeze on the S&P index, and you can see that it just basically found support down here and hasn't went anywhere. So yeah, not a whole lot to do this morning. You are coming into the top end of a small range. So, I was expecting this thing to go yesterday when it got above this section of price right here, but you can see that it just pulled all the way back in and went lower than a section of support that we were expecting. So when price is not going in one direction, it's basically, you got to just start range trading it again. So, and you can see here on your dailies, you are making higher closes, but it's so just nothing. Nice short squeeze move here. We did pull back a little bit, and we did get that measured move off from this. So, it is normal that you're seeing this take place. Yesterday was an inside day. Here is the day that it traded inside of, and currently you are trading inside of that. So, when you're making inside day after inside day, the best thing to do is just sit back and watch. There is no entry to take unless you want to look to maybe potentially take a short side entry, but you would only be aiming at today's low. And I'm not keen on taking a short right here. You are above daily res. Let's go back out to the weekly. Above weekly res. So, it's just trading sideways once you've gotten above a crucial area of resistance. The close that we wanted to see was above this, and simply because it was this support level here from this weekly candle. So when we closed above that, that was fantastic. I took a long entry on the test of that level with that little wick there. So the trade has been, it's a profitable trade. It's just not going anywhere, right? That's a very small weekly range compared to last week's range. And today is Thursday. So there is a few more days to go on it. So we could potentially start to see a little bit of bullishness come out of here. Nice and above the 50 on the daily. On the weekly, I didn't see where we are on that. Probably still under the 50. You are. So it's coming into a region where you might see short sellers re-enter the market. Right? Let's see here. What could I show you? There's really nothing on Glassnode either. I've been looking about on it. It's coming to an area where we may potentially see some traders that are in loss right now. Around 46.9, I think, is where they'll be in profit again. So, and that's basically anybody that got short here, they're in loss, or anybody that bought up here is in loss. So, but they're about to be, like I said, it's about to be an area where they'll be right back into profit or at break even. So we could see a little bit of downward pressure come from that itself. So here we have last month's range. You can see there is the open of it. We didn't come close to testing it, and you're already finding resistance. So what is it? What is causing resistance? There's a 2-week bullish candle there. And if I take that time or that line and put it down there on the wick low of this 2-week candle, you can see that is what's catching price. So it's typically not something that I look for when I'm analyzing the markets. Wick highs and wick lows can absolutely be resistance and support, but they're typically targets, right? We typically look at them for targets, not necessarily areas where price will turn around. But if this is a 2-week Heath level, this bullish candle, this is a 2-week supply zone. However, that supply zone is up there at 46,687.20. So the wick low of your supply candle is what's catching price. If we go back out here to the hourly, you can see it. It's like almost perfection. So in a scenario like that, I would assume that that's eventually going to be a target. You can see that your order flow is bullish because you are trading higher. It's just not nearly as bullish as it was coming off of those lows. And that's to be expected because the higher price gets, the more short or the more attractive it becomes to short. I'm not looking to short it at these prices. I want it much higher before I look to short it again. Simply because I think at these prices, it's still anybody's ball game. And right now you have a bullish week. You're bullish on the week. You're bullish on the day. You've been bullish on the last few days. You're just not going anywhere. So it's this very tiny range. Very small range. But there is your resistance. So eventually I'm assuming that will be a target. I would much rather it find resistance up there. If it wants to find resistance, and if it does find resistance, we will short it. It's not off the lows very much, but it is off enough to look for intraday shorts, obviously. So we'll just keep an eye on it. It just looks disgusting. It's not doing anything. Very, very small range. Today's high, or yesterday's high, is going to be a target. There's just no entry on it. There's nothing to do. Sitting on hands today. You're coming into hourly res as well. Let's go take a look at the dollar. The dollar is the culprit. The dollar is the reason for all this. You can see here that since we put in this low stuff here, big nice trending move down, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of sideways. We did the same thing here before then moving higher and then instantly coming back in. But the other day on Sunday's stream, we did take a look at the longer term time frame. And even though you did smoke the high of the previous quarter, you're still trading well above that quarter's midpoint. So until you get underneath that, this thing has to be looked at with bullish, with like a bullish bias. Sorry, something caught my attention. This is wrong. It's supposed to be up. Sorry. So you take your fib low to swing high, and then you're looking for, I mean, it was like a beautiful 618 test there on the quarter, but that's not a very big bounce. Back into the daily, you can see just it's not doing anything, right? It's not going lower, but it's not going higher. So I'm assuming that we're probably going to see the dollar find support in this area, but we'll see. This is where I stop being bullish on the dollar. 94.710. That's when I lose my bullish bias on the dollar. You can see that we almost took it out, but it was then bought right back up. So, I mean, if you take a fib from this swing low to that swing high, this is trading well under where you would want to be bullish. So it's very, very awkward price action. Traded sideways for multiple months. Then we broke down. That breakdown looked to be a fake out as price traded higher. So looking for a pullback to get long, and it did not work. Is this a pullback to get long in? It's an ugly one. It is an ugly one. So watch this swing low down here, 94.676. That will be where I lose my bullish bias on the dollar, and I will be focusing on lower targets. Let's go look at oil, see what it's doing. This morning, oil is up just barely this morning. You see that we did have a nice little pullback off of multi-year highs. Multi-year highs. Last time you were trading in this zone up in these prices was all the way back in 2017. So multi-year highs over here. Nice pullback. Found support at daily support. Right there, 113. Sorry, this isn't even oil. Dumbass. Yeah, I was thinking, what's going on? It was longer than 2017 since we've been up in this area. There we go. 2014. That's more like it. Strong, strong. Oil's been strong. There's nothing to do on it. It is pulling back, but I was looking for a daily support test. It hasn't happened yet. I don't trade oil, but I can trade Canadian dollar whenever oil is bullish. But the CAD hasn't really been reacting as bullish as oil. So you can see this main steady uptrend on oil. And if we go out here to CAD pairs, there's none in here. There's CAD yen. It's not really been bullish at all. So yeah, it's starting to get that bullishness. I was looking to take a bullish entry on this the other day, but it just traded sideways. Yesterday it finally broke out, and now we're seeing that bullish continuation, but there's nothing to do on it again. You're getting ready to come into resistance. The trade just didn't work out. We were watching it during the Asian session, which is something I do not like to do anyways. But this was the section of price where we were looking for this thing to break out. Right in here, and it finally did. It's just not a big breakout. It's just a slow, methodical push higher. But yeah, what's going on, everybody? Let's see here. Curious about your Discord channel through the Patreon subscription. What is discussed on that channel and members only streams? Educational stuff? I mean, yeah. I don't like talking about it because I feel like I'm shilling. I mean, you're not going to learn anything that you can't learn just from watching the YouTube channel in there. But I do show active trades and stuff like that. Like if I'm looking at a specific setup for the day, I do post that. But obviously they don't always work out, right? It's not a service where I'm just a signal service. It's not that. It's just for people to have 24/7 access to ask me questions, bounce ideas off of other people, something like that. But yeah. Good morning. Could you please talk about inverse contracts if appropriate? Thank you. So like the only thing that I don't really know what to say about it, Mr. Juice. The inverse contract it's basically it tracks Bitcoin's price, but it's traded on its own volumes. So like it's a futures contract that's traded through a lot of the exchanges like Binance and stuff like that. They all have them. So an inverse swap contract, what that means, it's just a futures product that tracks the actual price of a specific asset. For, in the case you're speaking of, the Bitcoin swap contract on KuCoin, the price is really close to what you're going to see on most spot assets, but it will have moves outside of the spot price as well. Like sometimes the moves will be a little bigger or a little smaller, but what it is you're basically taking Bitcoin, the Bitcoin that you own, and you're making bets on that. So like if you have, $100 worth of Bitcoin, you're basically trading that Bitcoin. You're taking positions based on what the inverse swap contract's doing, which it typically always is doing what spot is doing. So it just gives you the ability to trade Bitcoin with Bitcoin to make more Bitcoin, because you're paid in Bitcoin when you take trades and you are right. Well, that profit, that P&L is going to pay you out in Bitcoin. But if you're wrong and you lose a trade, you're going to lose Bitcoin. So it's no different than trading it with spot or with cash and then inverting or transforming that cash into Bitcoin. It just, that way you don't have to do any of that. So you don't have to pay any prices on that. Just gives you a chance to potentially accumulate more Bitcoin. And you can do it through leverage. But leverage can hurt you. You guys got to understand that. Leverage, just because if you're making trades and you're levered up too high, you're going to take losers, and those losers are going to crush your P&L. So if you want to do it, I would speculate with a small amount. So you can like transfer a small amount of Bitcoin over there, a couple $100, a very small amount, to learn the platform, because unfortunately KuCoin doesn't have a paper trading that I can see. So you can't like paper trade with fake Bitcoin to learn the platform. You have to do it with real funds. And the best part about it is as far as I know, there is no minimum deposit amount. So you can deposit as much as you want or as little as you want to learn the platform. But it's no different than taking trades with spot. It's exactly the same. It's just how you're paid is, that's what it is. Good morning, Cassidy. Good morning, Ahmad, Oliver. As far as if it's worth it or not to join the Discord, it's less than $1 a day. Obviously, it sounds like a lot, $25 a month, but it's not everybody finds value there. People come and people go. It's up to the individual to discover value in there. But I have a lot of people in there that's never left, so they like it. FTM USD. Let's go look at it. Yeah, sorry, it's going to be a very boring day, it looks like, inside of the markets. You didn't give me a ticker. This should be on KuCoin. Why isn't it? Oh, because it's not. There you go. There it is. You just said USD, so let me look at that. The Tether looks pretty close, but we'll look at it on Finex because on Binance it's calculated through TradingView, so it's very wiki. This looks really good. Let me take off log. Yeah, it still looks better than a lot of other crypto assets as far as how much it's come off. Yeah, it's floating. It's still up or under just 44%. It's not bad. Not compared to some. Some has already fell 80%. Like Shiba. So it looks like it's trying to consolidate at a low, but you're coming into daily resistance, so you have to be careful about looking for longs in front of resistance. But I mean, there's what, 10 cents there, 13 cents of profitability from here to resistance. So it's not really in a spot where I would have been looking to take entry. But you can see here how this day has already tested support and you are slightly trading off of it. So like those are the where you want to look to take your entries. There's not an entry to take now. And you can see that it's a very small range day. So if you go inside of it, like on the hourly time frame, you can see that you are getting a small bounce, but it's nothing epic. In fact, you traded sideways for multiple hours before you finally got that little pop. And it's just like, I don't know what happened. We started to get some movement and then everything just dried up. I guess people are concerned what's going to happen when they hike rates. But as far as long-term holds, man, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knows how crypto's going to react to a rising interest rate environment. If, in my opinion, I think it's going to be more bearish to sideways. I just don't see these, and these are especially high risk plays, right? Crypto is looked at as like an uber risk asset class. So that's why you've seen a lot of them come off so hard, so fast. But we were talking about it since last October. Last October is when people should have started scaling out of their positions. I mean, over in here, look at this stuff. I mean, you would have, it's like, it's especially as soon as, that's when the rumors started coming about the whole interest rate rising. It wasn't until late in the year, almost the end of the year, before they came out and specifically said, yeah, we're going to raise. It's going to happen. So, I mean, right now it's trading sideways and in a very tight range, 12 cents. I think you could probably do better to find other assets. I think this thing will be worth a lot more money later on down the road. You know what I mean? $2 right now. Absolutely. Can this thing be worth $10 in the future? For sure. So, I don't know what you're looking for on it. You got to tell me if it's for a day trade, swing trade, long-term hold. What are you looking for exactly to happen? So yesterday, seen a nice bullish move on the S&P 500. We were down here. This was the day that squeezed everybody. You can see how tight we had. This day was very tight range. Inside of this day here, once you got above this day's high, that's when you started stopping people out. Boom, right back up into a very, very good level. It's not that. What is it? This is different. TradingView is always moving my stuff. There it is. It's an old support zone from a 3-day time frame. Just an old swing low. It held as support there and there. That's your breakdown. So you tested it already. So when this starts to happen, we look for these levels to break. So it looks like the S&P 500 is finding its rhythm, getting ready to break out. That's what it was. It was a monthly level. That's why it was up there. So this was monthly support. This was the breakdown. This is where we want to see resistance hold. If you're going to see more sell side continuation on the SPY or SPX. But you can see how you're like, oh man, you closed right at it. So now what we're probably going to be looking for is bullish entries on this. I did it wrong again. You're supposed to go from swing low to swing high. So a stab down into this region. I was wrong the other day. I was looking for potential shorts. But you can't short an asset when it's extremely bullish. My guys wanted to short this thing, but it was crushing people. This was it. Big, strong move. Right in through here. This was the day. We were looking to short it once it got up into these regions because we had levels there, but when it's squeezing short so hard like this, you do not step in front of that. Had a pullback into the close of the market the next day, and then you've been trending up. You've been trending up, so you're not looking for shorts. I don't like going long into resistance either. It's the same rule. You don't look to get short in front of support, and you don't look to get long in front of resistance. But this candle here was a very important candle. It got above daily resistance. This was a rejection from the monthly. So that wick is now my target. So we're going to be looking for bullish entries on this asset. A spike lower, potentially at the daily res. That's where we're going to look for bullish entries. And we're going to be targeting this swing high, because that swing high is still intact. You see this? Yesterday you traded almost to it, but then you're pulling back. So we'll look for bullish entries. I don't want to enter up in this area. I want it lower. So it needs to spike lower, and then it needs to hold. If it holds, I'll be looking to get long. There's no hourly support down there. There's your lowest hourly support. So today might close as a red day. It might be best to wait until tomorrow for this long, because you had such a strong move yesterday, just straight up after the short squeeze. This was the short squeeze day because it was at support and it looked like it wanted to roll over. Once this candle happened, then we were no longer looking for shorts at all. And hopefully none of you guys got short. It's not time to get short. Not anymore. The fact that it turned around, had a nice move lower, and you're right back up into that region, that means that this dip was bought up. So rising interest rates doesn't mean that you're going to see risk off in the markets, essentially. Rising interest rates means that the interest rates are going to rise, but market participants can view that as a good thing because of inflation, right? Market participants hate inflation. That's what they hate. They hate that worse than anything. So it's going up, but we haven't seen the market react in a nasty way yet. Remember that monthly downside candle, that wasn't a big It wasn't even bear market territory. I mean, we've had bigger. It was a decent sized candle, but not even bear market territory. 12%. That's all it was. A 12% drop. And it's been bought up. So you are in an area where you could potentially see that resistance hold, but it's already held once and you're right back at it. So I would be looking more for a bullish breakout than I would to go short again. And that's going to be the same on Bitcoin and, euro and yen pairs. Yen pairs are trading higher today. Look at pound yen. Let me get over here so you can see. This is intraday. Big strong move on the pound yen. Boom. And it's like that on most yen pairs. You're seeing a big move higher. CAD yen moving higher. Let's go to the ultimate risk off asset. Aussie yen. Straight up. Straight up. I do know some people were looking to short this thing. You do not short assets when they're strong. You look to short weak assets. This thing pulled back decently. Looked like it was going to be risk off because of interest rates. Big strong move lower. But that move was bought up. Then you had a little bounce. You're going right back up again. There's just nothing to do on it today. Because you're trading at the high of day. There's no short to take. There's no long to take. So if that's happening, your yen's getting weaker. Your Swiss franc is getting weaker. Swiss franc is probably going up because of the yen weakness. Let's see something trading versus the Swissy. So that way you can just get an idea of what the market's thinking. People that are participating in this market. CAD Swissy, that's not super bullish, but it's not weak either. You're trading at the high end of a range. We might keep an eye on this. This might actually be a short play today. Let's see what it looks like on the daily. So this thing's been trading sideways for many days. It looks like a breakout's coming though soon. There's no trend line you can get on that. That'll look pretty, unfortunately. But the range is tightening up. So we're trading at the high end of a range. There is support. And that's not a big enough range day to look to trade. Let me see what it would be. From open to low. It's 10 pips. It's a 10 pip day. It's nothing. Not tradable. Yesterday you did get a higher close. And this is Oanda, so that was a breakout above resistance. So I wouldn't be looking to short it. It looks like a short on the hourly, but that's your daily res. Looks like a short on the hourly, but you did bounce off support pretty good. Let's see another Swiss pair. Euro Swiss. Big strong move. That's from the euro. But this thing was getting crushed. What about pound Swissy? Yeah, so it's not, the risk off is now not in the market. You're above your 50, you're bullish. So that's where you would want to see strength on your Swiss franc and your Japanese yen to look for shorts on other things. You're not seeing that. It's in fact the opposite. So we're going to look for longs. Even on the Bitcoin, Mr. Bitcoin still, it had its risk off move. I'm expecting it to go a little bit higher before people start to look to short it again. Luna, USDT. Yeah, let's go look at Luna. Oh, look at it on the KuCoin. So Luna's, it's playing around with support. You're trading under it. Next area of potential support will be all the way down here. If it wants to set in that side, that kind of range. So your weekly is struggling to go higher. This is going to be an area of resistance if it gets up there. So what you can do is you can watch last week's close, this week's open for potential bullish entries on Luna. That's what it's struggling with here. Test, 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 test. So what we'll do is we can go into a smaller time frame chart. We got 8-hour support built in here for now. There's an 8-hour Heath level. That's where people were looking to get short. But I think you're probably pretty good to close looking for a pullback down into that 8-hour support. Might be a good spot for a potential entry. Because this candle is going to scare people, but this candle didn't do anything. You see the 4-hour, how it just pulled back into support? So watch that 4-hour close. It's also the 8-hour close for potential bullish entries. And then you're only aiming at the high of day, which will be this here. Yeah, I think Luna could be people are going to call this a head and shoulders on the 4-hour. Your neckline is all the way down there. If you want to look at it like that, your neckline is going to be down here on this candle. But I think I'll be watching this asset for support. Look for bullish entries. So Luna might be on the table. We'll put that on watch. Definitely going to keep this on watch today. All right, there we go. So yeah, keep an eye on Luna. Watch for that 4-hour close. That's going to be a potential spot to look for bullish entries. An hour close below that level, and you're probably going to scrap the trade. But yeah, I think it's gonna run. FTM USD. We looked at FTM USD already, Ahmad. Could you take a look at SOS on KuCoin? Give me 1 second. It's a new asset on KuCoin. That was a nice bounce there from the lows. Let me just see real quick if this is a new asset, because I've never heard of it. It's not on Binance. It looks like it's a new asset altogether. Alright, so right now you're going to have to watch this weekly close, because that's going to be support. You can see you're right there on it. Looks like it's trying to hold a support. So this is going to be a potential another setup right here. There is daily right there. Yesterday you broke out. This is a nice little breakout. Not quite a bullish engulfing, but it is a breakout. This is your weekly level here. You got under the weekly level on a daily close, tested daily support, and then you bounced back above it. So this could be looked at as a pullback into support. Looking for higher low support. The 8-hour looks bad right now. But that price there, 354. So this is another asset that you're going to end up buying like 1 million of them to take a bullish position. But it looks okay. The bounces are getting smaller and you are in a downtrend, though. Keep that in mind. Right? Downtrend. This is also the ICO price. That is a bullish engulfing on the weekly. And then you had your pullback last week. So this week could be the potential move. But when you take these trades, make sure you take profits at your target. Profit target will be daily high. And the reason for that is simply because it can get sold into once it gets above that, because it is in a downtrend. So here's your hourly. That's your profit target. So your trade setup would look something like this. And you could get a nice tight risk on this as well. So that's what your trade entry would look similar to. So let this hourly candle test last hourly candles open. See if it wants to pull back from there. If it does pull back from there, then you can watch that close. You can see how this opened lower than the close of the previous hourly candle. That means there's not a lot of liquidity in this asset. So when you have that, you can get big, gigantic spikes, wicks to the downside and wicks to the upside. So be careful. See this? How big of a gap you have from this bullish candle to that one? That means there's not a lot of liquidity here. That means you did not have a market maker on the bid or ask of this close. It opened higher. And just be careful with that. I'd say the 5-minute looks disgusting. Oh yeah. It's absolutely disgusting. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, but it's a new asset. Open Dow, so we'll see what it does. Could potentially be an entry though. I wouldn't look at anything lower than the 1 hour on this thing. Little tiny liquidity like that though, sometimes you can get lucky and get in those big spikes to the upside like that, but you can get them to the downside too. So be very, very careful. Live, good morning. Welcome, Carl. Agile Leader, good morning, my friend. USD Turkish Lira. Let's go see it. Well, I thought I had it over there, but I didn't. All right, let's go look at it. I can pull it up. Yeah, trading sideways still. All right, so this is a supply zone. This is a supply zone that has been holding price. That was the entry, and it's not going anywhere. So now you have to watch daily res. Looks like you traded into this daily candle and you're moving lower. So that's daily res. Let's go into the hourly and see. Yeah, it's just sideways. If the DXY starts to come off a little bit because these assets are going higher, then this thing might go a little bit lower. But since it's trading sideways after that big, massive move, this is the biggest move in FX history. That's almost a 40% drop. That is unheard of in FX. 44% from swing high to swing low. Unheard of. So be very careful. But you're probably looking for shorts. But watch your dailies. Watch your daily levels. And then don't play around with this thing because you know it can rip. Like if you start to get in a loss and you don't have a stop and you think, well, I'll just let it'll come back. Don't do that on this. You'll blow your account. The sideways, since that big move and it's been trading sideways, could mean that you got government interaction going on here. That's what this could potentially mean. So be very careful. Daily support will follow up or use the oldest one. So if it's trading range bound like it is, watch daily resistance and daily support. That's going to be your range. 1358 to 1331. Be careful, man. Look at that beast of a candle. My goodness. Could you take a look at AXS USDT? Yeah, let's go look at it. AXS USDT. It's trying to find a bounce. Let's go find our weekly so we know exactly where we are. So we're beneath weekly support. That's what you bounced from. Tested weekly support and you bounce back lower. That's a nice bullish candle though, so you can watch the midpoint. Got much lower to go before you're in your midpoint of that bullish candle. Sorry about doing that in the mic. It's trading sideways the last 4 days. Looks like it wants to go higher. You're going to see a lot of hourlies below this level because of those massive wicks. You're trading at hourly res, so there's no bullish entry on it right now. What you're going to want to watch for is you're going to watch for a pullback into support. This is your last support zone, so if it comes back into this region, watch it for support. You can't buy it right now because you're into resistance. Let's get rid of this. We'll use the daily res instead of the supply zone just because you're so low anyways. This is your daily res up here. No, it's that, right? That's the daily. What is that one? Okay, so that's your weekly level. That's weekly res. And then this is your daily res. So you can see now that you would want to enter down here in one of these days supports. And then you go into your hourly and you find those support levels. You couldn't have entered on the first swing lower because we never know where price is going to find support. See, this happened on Bitcoin too. If you're trying to wait, like if you're buying stuff when it's moving higher on the pullback, you can find levels where you might potentially find support, but ultimately it's going to be up to price to find support. Once price finds support, then you can watch that level. So price found support here, traded away, came back in, boom. That's where your entry is. Traded back up, took out daily high, that's your profit target. So you take profits. And you can see that how people are doing that in the price action. Another stab higher, more profits taken, plus new short entries down to support. But you knew where the old support was. It was here. You did not quite get a test of it because it stopped at supply or demand, sorry. Boom. That's your entry. So now you wait for something similar. Right? Because this is going to be a profit-taking region up in here. So wait for a pullback into support again. 65, 181. If you want to short this thing, just understand that you're shorting it. Overall, it's in a downtrend. Right? Massive downtrend. But you had a bullish pop. Pops in price do usually get sold into. So maybe the short. I don't know. I don't like it short. Not yet. It's like Bitcoin. It looks almost like Bitcoin. You come off really hard for weeks and weeks and weeks, 3 solid months. Then you find support. Did this thing find support? Where did it find support? It's a new asset on KuCoin. Not quite. Yeah, that's disgusting. So yeah, watch your near-term support zones and your hourlies. Maybe it rips. It does look like it wants to rip to me. I don't know how far it'll rip. Next area of potential resistance will be right above that. It's that weekly range. The weekly res. But it is what it is. It does look like it wants to try to make a bullish push. Good morning, good morning. K4 Liberty, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Thank you so much. I get the new computer, I'll have some sound effects. But you didn't even ask for anything. Thank you for lunch, my friend. I appreciate it. Yesterday I dropped my laptop and I broke off the charger cord. It broke off in the laptop, so I had to go get that removed and buy a new one. It is an easy fix, but waiting for that new machine, man. The new machine comes in, the new internet. Once those both things get here, we're not gonna have any trouble at all. Thank you so much. SPSLP USD 4-hour and daily chart, please, from Ben. Awesome, absolutely. SLP USD. Let's see here. Smooth Love Potion. I heard about this. All right, FTX. You said 4-hour and daily, but nice big rip. So there's your last weekly resistance. Big strong move. Big strong move, man. Off the lows. So right now the trade, obviously, you know what I'm gonna say, right? It's already happened. So like that would have been down here when you first had the bullish engulfing. We typically don't trust bullish engulfings, especially in the downtrend. But you know, when they happen at the lows, as long as that area holds a support, and it did here, that was the trade. That was the absolute best spot of the trade. So now let's see if this gets sold into. I mean, it has been getting crushed. So, but that's a nice move. That is a short squeeze occurring off the lows. 4-hour is putting in nice areas of support and then bouncing. So your next area to watch, this is that weekly resistance level. Right? That's that level we took off the weekly. So just keep that up there, but mark it. So that way you know it's the weekly. And you could potentially watch for support. 4-hour is looking a little bit weak. Next 4-hour candle. So when you start squeezing like this, it can last for days and days and days, as it has. Big strong move. So now that's going to induce FOMO buying. Watch this region right here for support. If you come back down into that, probably won't anytime soon. And if you set another bearish candle up in here, then ultimately that could be support. But I don't like buying highs. Can the squeeze continue? It absolutely can. You got up over this wick. So the next region of potential stops is going to be just above you. That's a big strong move. Wow, that thing came busting out. Almost a 300% move off the lows. So look for a pullback, Ben. Look for a pullback. Don't try to buy the highs, because you could potentially buy the ultimate high. There's nothing to get, like, as far as on the higher time frame levels. Your monthly is way over here. So if you think this is going to continue, you can, that weekly res. You also have a monthly there. Let's see what that transpires into the 4-hour. So just below this area here. So this is that monthly, and your 4-hour support is right above it. So watch this 4-hour support to see when it comes back in there, does that offer up a support test? And then just aim for the daily high. Smooth love potion. I just don't see why this thing bounced other than it just got completely oversold. All of the sell side liquidity was done. Boom. Hang on, where do we go here? Am I expecting volatility from CPI? CPI is that today? Yeah, I mean, it's got 7.3% is what we're looking for, I think. Let me pull up daily FX and the calendar and see if that's what it is, if it's today. Because that could be why we're not moving. Yes, core inflation is today. The forecast is 7.3%. That's the inflation rate. The core inflation rate year over year forecast is 5.9%. So absolutely this can cause volatility. That's at 8:30 today. Thank you for telling me that, because I wouldn't have even... I don't trade the news. I don't think the news matters in a lot of cases. If you got a good... If you're on the right side of the trade, you're going to be able to basically nail it. Technical analysis can help you with that. But yeah, thanks for telling me that, Chris. We're going to keep an eye on it. It absolutely can cause volatility today. If you get a much higher print than 7.3%, then you're going to see some crazy moves. Yes. If you get a lower print than 7.3, like if it does what it did last month and do 7, which it shouldn't because they haven't hiked the rates yet, right? You have to look at it like that. It looks like it's going to continue rising, but if something stupid comes out and it's lower, then yeah, you're going to see a big bullish move. If it's higher, you could see a pretty big bearish move, depending on how much higher it is. 7.3% is expected. They have been hitting those expected numbers recently, like the last 2 months. The prints were perfect. 6.8 was expected. 6.8 is what we got. Then 7 was expected. 7 is what we got. Now 7.3 is expected. So yeah, absolutely can cause volatility. Agile Leader says smash the like button. Yes, if you don't mind, hit that button. 46 people watching, 40 likes. You guys did a fantastic job. Thank you so much. Boring day with CPI coming out. Yeah, that's what it is. Doge hourly. Doge. I haven't looked at Doge in a minute. It was fun to trade when all that volatility was happening. Doge USD. You said hourly specifically, but I just want to, if I'm going to look at it for you, I want to get you the best potential trade. You're into resistance, but you didn't test it, but you are into it. So we can get last week's close in there as well. This is just so that way I know what I'm looking at. So big bearish day, but it's an inside day. Inside bearish day. You're inside of this day, then another inside day, then another inside day. So the last 4 days were bullish coming into this pattern. Now you're setting up what looks to be like a bull flag-ish pattern. Bull flag. I don't trade patterns, but there you go. Here's the hourly. So we know this is daily support here. Price traded lower, then back above it. So watch 15 cents. This area right in here. So you might find resistance right here because of that supply zone. But if you do pull back, look for this area in here to pull back to in here. If you pull back to here and that area holds on an hourly closing basis, then we can target longs up into the resistance level. But if you close below that, then your next area is this close and then this one. So I mean, you can have 3 real tight areas of support here. And if you get a big nasty bearish candle that pushes into that in one fell swoop, I would not like that at all. But if price slowly, like around 8, 9 o'clock, if you're trading down here on this level here, then I would potentially look for bullish entries, targeting the first resistance level. But if you do break out of this sideways pattern, you could see a nice rip. You can see a nice rip. This would be the target, the secondary target. Yep, just keep an eye on it. It is in a downtrend longer term. Downtrends, pops in price generally get sold into. I mean, look at this. Every time you get a bounce, it gets sold. Bounce, sold. Bounce, sold. There's a difference on this bounce, though. The difference between this bounce and every other bounce is you did trade sideways for many, many, many days at support, and support held. So you're getting a little bounce off support. I don't know how much more is going to be in it, but we can keep an eye on it. If you get a nice bounce and it rips, take profits, start scaling out on the way up, because the higher the bounce goes, the more likely the selling will step back in. So you're probably seeing a little bit of sell side exhaustion down here. That's why you're getting a little pop. But watch that area right there. That's where I'd look for that. Thanks for the stream, Heath. You're welcome, my friend. Thanks for explaining so clearly. You are off. Great help trading better. Thank you, Arthur. Good morning, Jay Bradley. XRP. I haven't looked at Ripple in a long time. Probably looks similar to Bitcoin. We have to look at this on Finex or Bitstamp. Let's put a T on it and look at it. Well, let's just look at it on Bitstamp. Big bounce. Did the same as Bitcoin, but you can see that you're getting more bullish price action more than Bitcoin is. The last 3 days of this have been in a little bit. This one's trading on the highs too. Big strong move here. I don't know what those levels are from. Let's go look at the weekly. Obviously, we're going to be trading higher on the week. That was a good zone of resistance, and you broke out right through the middle. So that would be a good area to watch for potential bullish continuation if you trade back down into that. Yeah, I like that level. Big explosion. Next area of resistance is over here. But we'll use the support instead of the resistance. The resistance is the close of the bullish candles. The support's the close of the bearish candles. When you're coming back in from the ups underneath side of price, then that's typically where you want to use the old support zones. It's held twice, but you're getting another bullish bounce today. So this was, I mean, you're trading on the highs. That's the daily. Once you got above these two bearish candles, it's just been going higher. So that has to be where you look for the pullback too. This was your last or highest close once you started the bullet bearishness. So you got back above it. So look for that region to hold a support. You got to wait on hourly closes though. As long as you're closing hourlies above 87 cents, I think you could look for bullish entries and target your higher side of resistance. This stuff here. You're well above the open. That is the open of the day here. I don't know if you pull back into your open today, but you might pull back into support tomorrow. So watch that area there, 87 cents. This zone right in here. This is where I want to see support hold again for potential higher rips, but just target the range because it is in a range. a near-term range. 8:30 Eastern, yeah. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time is when CPI is going to be announced. Same time as NFPs. Yeah, thanks, Ahmad. Aussie dollar for a possible short. Alex, let's go look at it, my friend. And then we'll have to wrap it up. Aussie dollar on Oanda for a possible short. I know it's been extremely bullish for the last 4 or 5 days. So you're trading up. There's weekly res. You're like in the middle of 2 potential resistance areas on the weekly. So that's probably why you're looking for shorts. You completely engulfed the downside candle. That last stab lower, this one into support, you've completely taken out the entire move of this candle. So I don't know if I'd look for shorts. It could be extended a little bit to the downside, but maybe a little higher. You could see it. Let's go look at the dailies. Dailies, you're bullish on the day. So before I would even look to get short, I would need to test the 72.101, and then I'd need to see resistance there. I don't like it up here. There's really nothing to stop it. So like, even though you've taken out that wick high also, so that would be your liquidity run. If you were looking for short side entries, you would want to see a stab above that and then an instant drop. At least within an hour. You got above it, then you climbed higher. So if it was up here, I would say, yeah, it could potentially see a short. You got the news coming up at 8:30. Like I said, a higher print will definitely probably cause bullish dollar. Not definitely, but maybe cause bullish dollar. And then you could see the short entry on it. But I don't like taking a short in between these 2 areas. It's old weekly res is why it's stalling there. From this over here. That's what it's finding. It's just too far away. I don't like it. If it tests that weekly level, then yeah, potentially. But as long as it's just in the middle of nowhere here, I probably wouldn't look for it. You're oversold or overbought on the hourly RSI, but I don't look at intraday RSI. So, I mean, yeah, you could potentially see a bounce to the downside. I mean, not a bounce, a push lower. It's a little bit extended to the upside. I agree with you. But you're just getting above the 50 on the RSI. Where's your 21? Just so that way you know whereabouts. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I would short it. I think I would wait for a pullback and get long. More than I would want to just short it. There's really nothing. It's in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Morning Heat SPY went above 449 from Tuesday. Potential short entry. Thoughts on it now? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Nii Busari. Yes, it did. That's exactly what I was saying. I was looking for short side entries, but I wanted SPY to trade higher first and reject. And that is not what happened. It's on this day here. All right. This is Tuesday. That is a short squeeze. You completely engulfed this bearish candle. So what we were watching for, we was watching for a stab up to resistance. Our last resistance was this candle here. So I wanted to see that stab higher to get short. That's what we were looking at. That's what we were discussing before the market opened. But you can see what happened once it got up there. And it didn't go up there. Like, I was looking for a big push higher. And then that's where we would have been looking to potentially sell it. But instead you opened and traded lower. So can't get short for that. It's too quick, too close to the open, and you're trading sideways. Once you get above this swing high, if you're going to then roll over, it should. When you get continuation like that, that's when the stops start flying. Multiple people was probably short from that wick low. So once you got above them, it was all over but the crying. And then this was your previous day's high. Boom. By 12 o'clock in the morning, you were smoking that previous day's high. And then the squeeze continued. So yeah, that's not always is my analysis going to be correct. In that scenario, that's where being part of the Discord would have helped, because multiple people did ask me inside of the Discord if we were still looking for that short, and I told them absolutely not. Price was flying off the handle to the upside. That generally means people are stuck when you start getting a massive reaction like that. Then you trade down a little bit. This was just another area to get long. So if you got short down here and you were waiting for that pullback to come relieve you so you could exit your position, you never even got it. People are stuck. Yesterday wasn't a super bullish day. It is sideways mostly. So the good part about the SPY is we'll know what the CPI inflation print is today, so I can't really give you... I mean, I would more or less want to look for bullish entries. So if it comes in line, you're trading into resistance, obviously. So I don't want to look for bullish entries up here. And there's a potential gap fill coming up soon. I was looking for the gap fill yesterday. We didn't get it. So does the gap doesn't have to fill either. You could trade multiple days higher. So if you're looking for this gap to fill, just be careful. CPI print will be important. That's probably when you'll get the fillage. But like I said, on the SPX 500, if you look at that index, on this right here, you'll see that there is no gap there. See, there is no gap. So it doesn't have to fill. Doesn't have to fill. But that'll be a good spot to look for potential bullish entries. Right there. So it would fill the gap if it does trade lower. Then we'll look for bullish entries. It'll be determined by what happens on the core inflation print. Alright guys, with that being said, I'm going to have to pop off here and start looking for stuff. You guys make sure you have a fantastic day. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section after YouTube posts this video, and I'll try to answer them. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading everybody.